GAHI ni Bahi.
Diba, kana siguro at taga NEDA na yung atong bisita o taga
Abigalin
Bago lang ang umantong Binibining Pilipinas.
Abigalin ako Binibining Pilipinas na itong guest. Wala pa man daw, di pa man daw ni Mao. Mga kagayes, ako pang kingong kaganina, ikaduha ang Northern Mindanao sa pinakadako nga ekonomiya sa nason. Nanguna din of course, ang Metro Manila. Ato ng istoryahan, bigyan mo yung mitag istorya ng ekonomiya.
Pildi ang Davao.
Nalahira ang North Min. Tapos tara ba ekonomiya istorya no kay kanang mayon ta ba babang ekonomiya karon, taas ang ekonomiya karon, pero actually wag ta kasabot ko nagpitok-pitok na tong mata. Asa itong istorya, asa gyud kanang ekonomiya itong istorya na. May ni karon kay atong gidistorbo ang atong regional director mismo sa National Economic and Development Authority NEDA Region 10, wailain si Director Mylah Faye Aurora.
Beautiful girl.
Cariño.
Yan.
Morning, Director Cariño.
Good morning.
Buntag Sir Art and Sir Bernie ug may buntag sa atong mga suki sa GAHI ni Faye.
Ayan.
Thank you, Director. Welcome sa ato programa, Director. Buntag pa lang siya. Inani dapat imong ipang-invite. Ina atong production staff. Ani naman,
Ingani
buntag pa lang
quality.
pagbata, tanaw siya kanang di lang ang imong ganggoy din makita ang labing ba? Na malugnaw daw ng kape.
Wa insult to, hi.
Director Cariño, ma'am, ato ning pagaisgutan nga taliwala sa kaning pandemya nato oron ang labi na ang imong area of responsibility. Usag yapon sa giila nga usog no kun paspas himsog piskay andagan sa ekonomiya. Pwede ba rin mo, ma'am, kay kabulukaw when we talk about economy, mura po lang nagstorya ta aning mga medical terms ba? Wala na katong mga atong katawhan nga wa gay makasabot ani, ma'am. Unsaon ba nato sa pagsulti man nga taliwala sa pandemya ang atong ekonomiya medyo makig-away bitaw gihapon, ma'am?
Salamat sa imong pangutana, pero before I answer you, I would like to correct your statement, no? So si Sir Bernie ningon siya ganiha nga ang atong ekonomiya mo ikaduha in terms of its size, no, which is inaccurate, but it is second in another indicator. So if you talk about size of the economy, ang kinadak-an maugid ang National Capital Region, and then it is followed by Calabarzon, and then Calabarzon, and then Central Luzon. In terms of contribution to the economy, no, so size of the economy, and then its contribution to our gross domestic product, ang kinadak-an NCR, followed by Calabarzon, and then Central Luzon. So unsa man ta, how do we fare in terms of our contribution sa atong ekonomiya? Ang atong contribution is 7th largest. Now para sa atong mga suki, unsa man atong gatan-awon, no, if we talk about the economy, and kung gusto nato mahibal-an kung unsa ang dagan sa atong ekonomiya, isa sa atong gitan-aw is ang gross domestic product nga naa pud ni siya yung regional counterpart na gross regional domestic product. So unsa man ning GDP, unsa man ning GRDP, mo ning gitawag nato nga market value of all the goods and services produced in a certain territory for a specific period of time. Kung approval mao ni ang kinatibuk-an nga balor sa tanang produkto o serbisyo nga namugna sa usa ka teritoryo for a specific period of time. Kamo, is it mga TV host na aba mo i-contribute sa atong ekonomiya na if we look at the economy, tulo atong galantawon.
Alright.
We look at agriculture, forestry, and fishery. That's one sector. Another sector is industry. Ang naa sa industry, mining and quarrying, manufacturing, electricity, gas, water, waste management, and then construction. And then naata sa services. Unsa man ning services? So wholesale, retail trade, transportation and storage, naa dinhi ang accommodation, food and services, information and communication, lakip sad ni ani ang financial and insurance activities, and then real estate, and then professional and business services. So kita ana, no, nag-appeal ka sa naglangkob sa professional and business services, and then public administration and defense, education, human health, and other services which include the economy. So muna ang atong galantawon, AFF, industry, and then services.
So meaning to say, no, Director Cariño, ma'am, tanang yun pa directly or indirectly naagi contribution sa kalambuan sa ekonomiya.
Yes, kitang tanan na atay contribution because we either produce a good or we provide a service. Para sa yun kaayo dumduman sa atong katawhan, no, ang atong Philippine Statistics Authority, mingon sila nga, kung mingon galit kag GDP, gawa dito sa Pilipinas. So all the goods and services that we produce, that is a measure of our economy. So isa na to kadagtan-awon kung unsa ang dagan sa atong ekonomiya is the growth rate, no? So dinhi di gid ta iwit as far as the economy of Region 10 is concerned. Our economy can be called a robust economy, a strong economy, because from 2010 to 2019, ang atong growth rate was really around 6.4%. But then again, 2020 happened.
Ang
2020, the pandemic happened, and the pandemic adversely affected ang atong economy. Not just the Northern Mindanao economy, but the economy of all the regions, the global economies, our country's economy. So, do you want to know how much it affected our economy?
Sige daw, ma'am. Unsa, kung kani adto doon na tay ani kadako o niya unsa ba ka
Baba.
kalawon po ang kalayo ang iyang gihulugan.
Kanila, may ikay na istoryahan, no? Because if you look at 2018, if you look at 2019, there were a lot of investments nga nisud din sa ato sa rehiyon. Yes, in fact, atong 2010, we got the largest investment commitments nga gikan sa Board of Investments. In fact, one of the largest investment is a $4 billion investment for an integrated steel mill company nga tukuron din sa FIBIDEC. So, daghan atong investment 2018, 2019, and so we thought that 2020 would be another banner year for Northern Mindanao, no? So, ang among gilantaw, di lang gid ni 6.4% ang atong average. Musaka pag yun ni. But then the pandemic came. And tungod sa pandemya, tungod sa iyang epekto sa atong health, our government needs time, no, mga mo improve sa iyang health systems capacity. Mauto nga nag-impose og mga community quarantines. And some of the establishments were closed, kay gi-categorize man ito 1, 2, 3, 4. Several establishments were closed, and for those nga gi-allow nga mo operate, scale down ang operation, and these community quarantines really affected ang dagan sa atong ekonomiya because ang ato usab nga mga katawhan restricted man pud ang iyang mobility. So instead of expanding, instead na mulambo, ang atong ekonomiya ni kunhod. Now, there's a great difference between slowing down and then contracting. Kaya kung maingon tag mo slow down, nilambo gihapon apan hinay nga paglambo.
Okay.
Pero dili na mao ang hitabo.
Mikuyos, yun doon, mikuyos.
Correct, that's the right word. Di lang ni kunhod pero ni kuyos. That's the great description. Ni kuyos ang ekonomiya sa 2020. Ang amo unta adto is just to cushion, to mitigate the economy para muhinay lang, dili gid siya mo kuyos but ni kuyos siya. So ang atong ekonomiya sa Region 10 contracted by 5.2%. So from around 863 billion pesos, we produced only around 822 billion. 5.2%. But if you compare ni itandi nato ni siya, no, sa uban nga rehiyon, ang atong ekonomiya had the third slowest contraction. The slowest contraction happened in BARM, followed by Soc-Sargen. And then kita, we had the third slowest contraction at 5.2%. In fact, better off than the national average because our national economy contracted by 9.6%.
Director Iyon Andy, para ang gasubay nato ron, no, kining 18 years old to 60 years old, unya kasagaran ng mga professionals, niya 60% niini based on the demography nato sa ato ang programa is home based kasagaran nasa balay gyud kasagaran, no, work from home ana. Kani unsa i-translate daw nato ng kanang imong ginaingon director nga kaning figures unsaon nga mabati sa mga ginikanan, for example, nga okay ang ekonomiya. Mamahimo ba silang barometer? Mura ba yun ba nga si Manang Lilia? Kani ato sa sus, kani among 100, no? Muag to magpalingki ani, una, pero daghanan lang naman mapalit.
Balidwa kasi
Ano
lumin na.
so, 20 taon ta na. Is a normal Filipino-sized family nga sa ilang kaugalingon di sila mga ekonomista, pero ilan na bang matimbang-timbang nga maayo ang dagan sa ekonomiya or dili?
We can look at prices, no? So last year tungod kay naaman tay pandemic, so naagid tay mga interventions as far as prices are concerned, so controlled. So last year ang atong average inflation, ang inflation rate ng pag-inflation, ang pagsaka, paglihok sa presyo sa atong mga commodities last year, it was only 2.1%. So it's not really bad at all. So hardly nag-move good ang presyo. So practically, you can still buy the same number of goods for 100 pesos that you have. For this year, latest na to nga for the first and second quarters, I think the average is around 3.4%. So medyo nisaka ang presyo sa palalito, no? But last year, if you look at it, ang dako nga saka sa presyo good naa sa baboy, pork.
Okay.
And it was because na ASF. And while we were not that affected last year, there was great demand, no, dito sa lain nga mga rehiyon. By the way, Region 10 is the third largest producer of pork. So there was great demand there. We had to fulfill it there. So misaka, there's movement because of the great demand and limited nga supply, but eventually nag-taper off na pud na siya, ni-stabilize ang presyo. So Sir Art, in terms of prices, it's not too bad. Because the government ensured that there's regular monitoring of prices, because I think, no, ako feeling na di siya, dilig lang din siya think, it's really untenable, unconscionable that we take advantage sa kalisod sa atong mga tao tungod aning pandemya. But let me look at it sa mga punto nga kanang sayon sabton sa atong mga tao. What is the effect of the pandemic in terms of employment? And in terms of the establishments.
Nanawan ang trabaho ron.
Yes.
Naka-apekto po na sa dagan sa ekonomiya.
Yes, sige. Para mas klaro kay gusto man nimo nga we break it down into simplest terms. So unsay effect sa pandemya in terms of employment? Remember, we imposed community quarantines. There were some establishments that were closed. There were some establishments whose operations scaled down. There were some establishments that were no longer considered essential during the pandemic. And so some of these establishments really closed. Dinhi sa Region 10, we have a total of around 37,340 firms operating in Region 10. Close to 10,000 of that naa dinhi sa Cagayan de Oro City as the center of trade, as the center of our region. Now, during the pandemic, meaning hantod karon, around 123 of these establishments closed.
Wow.
Okay, affecting 1,680 individuals. 1,457 temporarily closed, affecting 31,098 individuals. And most of these are in micro and small enterprises. So they are the most vulnerable aning pandemya. Around 659 firms opted nga mag-retrench kesa nga musira gyud kuan. And around 2,966 adopted alternative work arrangement just to preserve jobs, affecting 109,000 workers. So last year, ang atong unemployment pauni for the first time in a long time during the April 2020 nga labor force survey, ang atong unemployment nisaka to 11.1%. That's the first time na nag-double digit ta, no? So it was alarming for us, but kung itandi na pud nato ni sa ubang rehiyon, the 11.1% unemployment was actually the lowest. And
In other words, sa 12 million nga nationwide nga unemployment nga nawad ang trabaho, 11% niya na gikan sa Cagayan de Oro.
Sa region, no. Let's talk about the total universe of employed people in Region 10.
Okay.
Alright.
Putang dili na lang employed. The total labor force of those, total labor force nato. Unsa maning labor force, okay? These are people looking for work, are employed, some of them are employed, some of them unemployed. Anyway, sa total, dinhi sa ato sa Region 10, ang atong unemployment rate was 11.1. Ga-average na gitag mga 5%, 4 to 5%. Nisaka siya last April 2020. Now, in January,
Director, sa kinatibukan, for example, sa labor force, no?
Ani na lang, 100 na naa sa labor force, for every 100, para sa yon, for every 100, 11 walay trabaho.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's unemployment. Now, January 2021, nanaog na ni siya to 7.1%.
Alright.
And in the latest labor force survey, it went down further to 5%. So the economy, muna yung tanawon, the economy is getting better. From unemployment of 11.1 sa kasagsagan sa pandemya, nanaog ang unemployment to 7.1 in January, and nikunhod pa gyud ni siya to 5.5% in April of 2021. So, looking at the figures will tell you a story. Hey, the economy must be getting better because the unemployment is going down. And you also take a look at underemployment. And underemployment, muna ang mga tao that are employed pero either they work less than 40 hours per week. So our underemployment in April 2020 was around 29.4%. In January of 2021, nanaog ni siya to 25%. And then in April of 2021, 19.7% na lang na siya. So mauna siya ang
katong mga nawat ang trabaho gakababa. Ang katong unemployment gakababa.
Yes.
Kasi gakataas ang naay nakakipagtrabaho karon panahon na.
Yes, you know why? You know why? Because even if nanira ang uban sa atong mga kumpanya, investments continue to come in. Although as
unsa klaseng investments ang gapanulod karon taliwala sa pandemya, Director Cariño?
Okay, so based sa atong datos, there are investments along food manufacturing.
Sa food.
Food.
Okay, there are investments along health. In fact, ang Bukidnon was able to get an investment of around 1.5 billion. There are investments along energy. There are investments along logistics and distribution. So even if nanira ang uban nga mga kumpanya, gitan-aw namo ang datos sa DTI, gitan-aw namo ang datos sa Securities and Exchange Commission, itan-aw pod mi sa datos sa Cooperative Development Authority, nakita nato nga naapoy mga bag-o nga nag-abri nga mga patigayon or mga businesses.
Wow.
And we're
Yes.
hoping that it's enough to compensate for those that closed, and apparently murag mao ang dagan because nanaog man gyud ang atong unemployment. Now balikan ta mo ganiha sa inyong assertion. Second largest economy. No, it's not second largest economy, but we have the second highest GDP per capita. So what does it mean?
Sabot pa sabot ana, Director.
Okay, simpliho na to, no? GDP per capita, I already defined GDP kanina. Mautot ang total na to nga output in terms of goods and services. So when you say per capita, it means per person. So very simply put, GDP per capita is output per person. So in terms of output per person, we are the second highest. Second to NCR. NCR produced around 400,000. Kita nga far second at 163,000. So why are we using GDP per capita as an indicator? Because we want to compare it across regions, no, across, it is an important indicator of economic performance and a useful unit kung tanaw nato ang dagan sa ekonomiya sa kare-rehiyon or even across countries. So we're the second highest, second only to NCR, and in fact, ang atong GDP per capita is higher than the national average, which is around 100.
Kung hiyon mo ganin na, Director, nga GDP gawa dito sa Pinas per capita, unsa ba na namin na duman nga per capita
Per person, output per person. Ang gawa,
produkto kada tao.
yes, per capita. Although dili man tatanan ga produce, we do not produce, not everyone produces. Kinamatay mga batang gagmay, naamantay wala na nanarbaho, but per capita para sayon siya tan-awon ba? The output per person is around 163,000.
Mga kagahi, ang NEDA usab mura nagsilbi kini siya kanang economic consultant sa gobyerno. Kanang kung ikaw mo pangutan-on na minaw karon ang ato ang mga followers and listeners nato, Director Cariño. Unsay maayong inegosyo karon sa pamilya aron lamang na muburot ang hiyos.
Muda ko ang nikiyos.
Oo. Unsay maayo ka karon nga siyempre wala kaayo dako nga capitalization. Kanang murag halos kanang yung una hadlok sa COVID, hadlok batakdan, maghimo tag business nato diri sa balay na lang sa mga panimalay nga sama na ingon ana. Sa inyo nakita karon, especially more than a year na. Unsay ning inyo nakita nga murag promising ni siya nga industriya or negosyo o nga pwede masundan versus kaysa imong gimension gayon nga kasagaran sa naigo ang mga micro-entrepreneurs, no? Ang mga non-essentials. Sa inyong datos, Director, na ba mo murag nakita lang, murag nasiplatan nga, promising ni siya kung eventually sa bisag sa mga SME, may nana.
That's great. Ginagmay lang atong panahon ha, mga kung ano.
Kabalo ko ang NEDA, dinagkugid mo na mo sa kanang electricity sector, power sector, construction, in real estate, etc. Nakita niyo ni. Karon ato ning i-translate dito sa mga naminaw nato kay I don't think kung naminaw na ko oron nga mga anak ni Losyutan, nga o mga anak ni Aboitis, ni nato nga programa. Kasagaran naminaw nato oron kani mga naa sa mga middle income nga mga earners. Unsay nakita nila kay kasagaran ko naminaw na sila nga sabay maayong unsaon na turon at least man lang mabulitaw yan naputay may tampo sa to ekonomiya nga di lang taga standby permisa balay kay mosamot gyud ni kahiyos kung wa tay hinuon.
Correct.
One is we can venture into growing our own food.
Growing our own food.
Yeah, we should do that. We grow our own food. For one, magamit nato sa atong panimalay. Kaduha, we can sell extra. Dili man kinahanglan nga dako kaayo ang luna nimo no sa imong yuta to be able to produce food. Kay naaman gali nato mga partners na mga pots lang no ang gipang tanom. Urban gardening.
Ano mga plastic bottles na no?
There are many technologies no nga pwede natong gamiton to grow our own food. And you know, I walk my talk. Kami, we grow our own food as well. Sa among gamay luna sa balay. Naamang gali ni apil mga manok. Although namatay ang among piso. Pipila kay gikaon og ilaga. So anyway, that's another story altogether. But we can grow our own
Ma'am,
food.
nakoy baligya iring ma'am pampatay gilaga ma'am.
Actually, naman yung mga iring bird. Magid na natimingan. So we grow our own food.
Yes.
Tama,
Yes,
po,
that's
tama,
one.
tama,
It makes
tama.
the
Dahil gyud maguna-una ang mga taga-NEDA, Bird.
Lahir gyud mga taga-NEDA, tama no? Timing
Ay,
nyo.
dako na. Bisag dili nimo na i-explain Director Cariño inon taka nakuha na sa ato ang mga bright pa ning GAHI community nato no. Nakuha na nila Director growing your own food.
Nice.
And from there, no? Pwede na for consumption, personal consumption sa pamilya.
Oo.
Kung mabaligya po para sa
Taning pang online karon business karon ma'am.
Yeah, that's a great business. Online businesses. Daghan kaayong nigaya no nga mga negosyo like they bake their cakes, they bake their cookies. Daghan silang mga food and ang mga tao tungod kay they are just at home no. For those that have excess income, some of them would rather buy food and if you look at Grab, if you look at Food Panda, there's a plethora of options no pwede nato kapilian.
Correct.
So that's another one. You can also provide a service online. Like tutorial, nakita nga din ako karon na ay mga piano lessons online, singing lessons online. Actually, the pandemic can create demand na wala nato gikinahanglan previously.
Correct.
But now it is it takes a little imagination actually, Art, no, and Bernie. It takes a little imagination to produce this. Some of my staffs actually engage in business, and I have a staff nga namaligya lagi siya atong lettuce nga planted nga naa sa cups, no? And it's really possible. It's really possible. And then kana preserves, kana mga services. If you look at it, ang hardest hit sector, no, we're speaking big now, not small time. The hardest hit sector actually during the pandemic was the accommodation and food services. Nikuyos gyud siya by 49.6%. And what do we do with our people working on? So there's only so much that you can give, no, as an intervention. Very important is reskilling. We cannot afford now, we di ba, mingon tag Levi's never goes out of style. So we cannot afford to go out of style. We have to reinvent ourselves to make ourselves again increase ang atong market value, right? And how do we do that? We reskill.
Okay.
Oh, mga kagay, sigurado kung daggan kayo mo nakatunan sa tuwang director
Kabalo ka Kagaya art kung si ma'am pa kung teacher so na sa economics, nakapasar siguro ko.
Dato na karon.
Sa una mo kasabot sa kung kuan, klaro kay ka ma'am. Ang mga taxi driver na ni text sa tuwa nga na feel yun na mo burn ang kalisod kay sa una daw 5 ilang textmate karon 2 na lang. Na feel daw gid nila. Medyo ni babagi daw ang ekonomiya. Mo daw nilang basihan kagaya art. Ang 5 ka textmate sa una karon di na daw mo reply ang uban, halos 2 na lang daw.
Director, it's very informative ang imuhang gihatag kanamo na at least kami nga naminaw kanimo na apay paglaob. There is hope, there is light at the end of all these things, right? Mensahe nimo, Director, para sa mga katawan, labi sa mga nanay, tatay, mga professionals, nga paminaw nato karon online and on air.
We just want to assure our people, no, that we are doing all we can, the best that we can to mitigate kaning impact sa pandemya sa atong ekonomiya o mismo sa atong mga kaugalingon. And we're not working alone. It's really a whole of society approach. Government, local government units, private sector, civil society. We come together, we meet every week because the situation is very fluid. When we say fluid, the change good kanunay, Sir Art and Sir Bernie, and we have to be able to adapt. We have to be agile and nimble para makaresponde ta aning mga changes, no? And we just want to assure you that we're doing the best that we can. Sometimes naaging mga missteps, no? And it's because this is the first time that we are encountering this pandemic. Pero naagid ko'y hangyo, naagid ko'y pangalyupo sa tanan.
Yes, Director.
Please help us, no? Please help us by being the solution. Bida solution. What do we mean by bida? Bawal ang walay mask. Bawal ang walay face shield. So kanunay dapat natong suoton ang atong face mask o face shield. Ikaduha, bida man, BI. Isanitize kanunay ang atong mga kamot. Hugasan atong mga kamot. Paggamit og hand sanitizer. Bida, D. Distansya between 1 to 2 meters, no, sa atong next na kauban. And then A, action lamang ta sa mga informasyon that have been vetted to be accurate. Dili na ta mudugang sa infodemic. Okay ra nang TikTok, Sir Bern. Di na ta mudugang, dili ta mo pasa og fake news.
Kana bitaw gaingon nga, ala sige, pa-injection mo kay
Mazumbi mo.
Mamatay mo 2 years mo. Kana magaingon ana, Director. Ana, pag di gani mamatay na in 2 years, kamo among
Ese.
That's correct. That's the BIDA plus. The plus is when it's time for you to be vaccinated, have yourself vaccinated. Ako, I am an adult with a comorbidity. I am hypertensive. I got it muna isa sa akong inheritance from my parents, ang akong hypertension. And so I had myself vaccinated at 8
Maka-hypertensive yun daw. Maka-hypertensive yun daw ng nakasanyan daw, ma'am.
Hindi likod.
Good morning sa mga taga-NEDA diya sa Caraga, silang Buging Gabalyo. Good morning.
Sinovac ako, by the way. Sinovac.
Okay.
Because I believe that the best vaccine is the one that is available. And at the time that I was scheduled for vaccination, it was Sinovac that was available.
Wow.
So it's not only a duty to oneself, it's a public duty to have yourself vaccinated because you
And
do not
it's
only
also our
protect yourself.
contribution to restore the vibrant economy.
True. Thank you, Ana, Sir Art. That is your contribution. Bida plus.
Thank you, Director Mylah Faye, Cariño, Regional Director sa National Economic Development Authority. Hangtod sa sunod na po, ma'am. Thank you. Salamat kayo.
Kagaya, Kagaya, Director.
Good morning.
Kani akong kape na igo po ni sa ekonomiya. Lapsaw na, tabang pa. Sa manas. Mabalik kami, kadyon lang. Mamuga sa miha, kadyon lang kayo.